Hello, and thank you for joining us. This is No Soundbites Allowed, and I am your host, Michael Voss, Dragon of the Southern Tier. I'm happy to be here with you today. It is May 5th. It's approximately 12:30 in the morning, and I wanted to talk to you about something that kept me up tonight, didn't let me sleep. An issue that I think is affecting every single American in the country or overseas, and affecting the stability of the world, the peace in the world. And I think it needs to be spoken about because we've gone too far. It's too far. What am I talking about? I'm talking about safety, I'm talking about security, I'm talking about the future. And I'll explain what I mean in just one second. But first, before we start, I want to mention that if this is the first time you're seeing our channel, we welcome you. We thank you for being part of our audience. We want you to know that we do long-form political commentary. And of course, every Sunday at 2:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, we do a live stream with you. We reach out on all the social media that the internet overlords will allow to be able to hear your voice from anywhere in the world. We ask you to join us to share your voice in tweets, in chats, and in phone calls to tell us what you think about the issues that affect us all. Because we believe in the First Amendment, we believe in your right to speak up. And even if your country doesn't agree, even if the internet overlords don't like it, we look forward to seeing you with us every Sunday at 2:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So what is it that's keeping me up at night? What is it that won't let me sleep and is bothering me so much? Well, let's walk through this so that you'll understand it in full context, because this is about your safety. This is about your security, whether you're on U.S. soil or if you're overseas, whether for business or pleasure or any other reason. And this is what's affecting the rest of the world. In 2021, Joe Biden assumed the White House under various contention, and he immediately began to put his fingerprint on America. He started to change many laws and many regulations and many guidelines. One of those happened to be about the U.S. military and its direction moving forward. And by April of 2021, we got to see that direction. We were able to see the direction that Joe Biden wanted to take the U.S. military. He started with the Army, and what he presented to the Army and to the world was the new look of America, a warm, fuzzy, all-inclusive, diversity, equity, inclusion aspect of the United States military. And that was the commercial that you may recall from May of 2021 about the U.S. Army, the two moms approach. Yeah, that was really devastating. It was warm, it was fuzzy. You, a member of a former cheerleader, a former member of a sorority, you who had two moms, you too could join the military. And no one was afraid. In fact, right after that, we saw that Joe Biden decided to really emphasize the point about how strong the United States military was. He retreated from Afghanistan after being embarrassed and having the Taliban take over Afghanistan. In fact, we could see in September, after 5,000 Americans were left behind, they were abandoned, thrown to the wayside by the Biden-Harris administration, and Joe Biden lied to the American people, saying that only 85 people had been left behind and that he would soon get all of them back home. And what did we learn after that fact? Well, we've learned since then that over 1,000 Americans actually did come back, and that the White House won't speak about the remaining 4,000 or 5,000 still in Afghanistan to this day. And we saw the reaction in the media. We saw various pundits put out their political cartoons about Joe Biden trying to save face, about Joe Biden claiming it was the greatest success that had ever happened, even though it was closer to the Hindenburg. We saw Joe Biden blame everyone except himself for making the decision to run away and to weaken the look and actions of our military. And in fact, one of the most chilling things was this. if it's any consolation, the White House says we're not stranded here. That was in 2021. September 4th of 2021. And to this day, there are still Americans who are saying they've been abandoned. There are Americans who are still hostage of the Taliban. You don't have to believe me when I say there's still Americans there. We know that at least 175 are still in Afghanistan held by the Taliban. We know this because we've heard Antony Blinken, we've heard the Biden-Harris administration admit that to no coverage, or virtually no coverage, by the mainstream major media. They've hidden that fact. But we also saw that on March 23rd of 2022, the Army reduced its physical fitness standards for women and older soldiers. And you have to wonder, why did they do that? Because they weren't hitting recruitment targets. Somehow it seems the warm and fuzzy two moms approach didn't work. And so they had to lower the standard to try to be able to recruit more people, to try and hit their targets for the United States military. And they failed. The Army missed by 15,000 soldiers. It may not sound a lot, but it's important because this is a trend that has continued under the Biden-Harris administration, and we're going to see that continue going forward. The warm, fuzzy feeling isn't something that's going to bring someone to the military. The retreat from Afghanistan, the retreat from Ukraine, abandoning American citizens, the abandonment of Americans in the Sudan are not bringing Americans together. It isn't uniting. It isn't helping us maintain our military around the world. And it's not just the Army. We know that in December of 2022, the U.S. Navy lowered its standards so it could meet recruitment. In fact, they lowered their standards. They raised the maximum enlistment age from 39 to 41, and at the same time, they lowered their recruitment requirements from the 30th percentile to 10%. They dropped their numbers to be able to accept below standard recruits just so they could hit their targets for 2023. And we know that, 2022, and we know that in 2023, the Navy has already admitted that they're looking to miss by 16,000. 16,000 members of our military. The warm and fuzzy approach is failing. The Air Force is not without its problems as well, because they have admitted that they look to miss by 10%. Historic low numbers are not helping. They're going to miss by 10% of active Air Force and Air Guard and Reserve. The United States military is missing on every single target. In fact, the only ones who seem to be doing all right are the Marine Corps. The one unit that isn't taking on the warm and fuzzy approach. The one part of our service that isn't, like General Milley said, trying to discipline and punish soldiers for daring to be white. Remember, it's white rage in the military, according to General Mark Milley, who we consider to be a traitor on this channel. But in all the other services, we have seen consistently they have lowered the standards for every measurable requirement. We're getting substandard people to come in, and they're not coming in droves. They're coming in drops, in dribbles. Because the Biden-Harris administration has not given anyone confidence. Now, let me stop for a second and mention to you that if you did not know, I served in the Marines. My father served in the Marines. I have family members who have served in the United States Army. We love our country. I love America. So much so that I was willing to put my life on the line. I signed the contract. I swore the oath because I believe in this nation. I believe it is the greatest nation in the world, and I'm willing to give my life for this nation. That was true back in the 1980s. It is true today. Here I am at 55. But I am concerned. And I have every reason to be concerned. Because while we are trying to make the Navy and the Army and the Air Force friendly to the entitled youth of America today, as we are trying to conform to the 112 or 80 or 60 different genders, as we're trying to conform to trans everything, we are missing the mark of being a strong nation. And it's getting worse. Because not only have we gone with the warm and fuzzy two moms approach, not only have we lowered our standards on every objective level in terms of intelligence, capability, and even physical fitness, we have also lowered our requirements in a moral way. Has taken the approach for drag queens, using TikTok as a recruitment vehicle and promoting drag queens. Now, I want to be clear. It's your life, your sexuality. Do whatever you want as a grown adult. Stay away from children. But the Navy is trying to convince other Americans that they should join the Navy because they're trans inclusive, because of LGBTQAI+. If you call yourself a toaster, it's all welcome. And they're missing their targets. They're not getting people to join in. And it is making our military worse and worse. Because no one is afraid of you, that you grew up with your two moms. Because you want to be in drag. Because you're trans or whatever else you may want to claim to be. That's not cohesive. That's not a standardized military. That's political appeasement. That's a military that is more concerned about the politics than the effectiveness. And any military that isn't focused, laser focused on being effective is useless. And we are seeing that. Because our military isn't standing in Afghanistan trying to defend Americans as they retreated. Our military isn't going into the Ukraine to get the women and children and civilians out of a war zone before it started or afterwards. We went into the Sudan to get U.S. Embassy employees and abandoned 15,000 Americans, as we covered just 2 weeks ago on this channel. We've abandoned 15,000 Americans into Sudan and turned around and said it was a great success because we got 300 people out. As India got out 2,400 people. As the United Kingdom got out 2,200 people. And America was standing there proud, saying they got 300 people out. Maybe it was because we have a two-mom army. Maybe it's because the Navy is focused on being LGBTQAI+ and having their drag queens as their leadership, as their message forward. But whatever those reasons may be, they are failing. And we do have senators who are standing up and saying, this is a problem. In fact, they sent out on May 3rd this letter, which you can see in this letter that came from Ted Budd, Tom Cotton, you see Steve Daines, Eric Schmidt, some of the names that you may be more familiar with. Ted Cruz, Rick Scott, Mike Lee, Mark Rubio. And what did they say? The Digital Ambassador Pilot Program. We have no idea how much this cost. We have no idea who approved this. We have no idea who decided that they should be targeting drag queens to join the Navy. And more importantly, we have no idea why they're putting it on TikTok after there is a law that was signed on December 29th, 2022 by Joe Biden saying the U.S. government will not use TikTok. Why are they promoting on TikTok? Who approved this? How much did this cost? And is it effective at all? Because it seems not to be. Not when we're hearing that we're going to see various divisions of the United States military miss their recruitment targets by 10%, by 16%. God knows how many more. The thing that really should upset you about this isn't the fact that the Navy's trying to get drag queens. Yes, it brings back jokes of YMCA, of the 1980s and 70s, that sailors are mostly gay. Yes, that is a story long said about the Navy, but that joke isn't the thing that you should worry about. It's that no one feels motivated to defend our nation. And if there is no one willing to defend our nation, then who is? The United Kingdom? Canada? Are we going to rely on France and Germany to come to protect America and Americans all over the world? Because they're not. Let's be honest about that. They're not. They're not coming to save you. They're not coming to help you. Because that's not their objective. They're taking care of their own people, their own country's interests, not the Americans. That's why we have a military. That's why they have a military. To take care of their people. It is the number one mission of our government to protect our own people at home and overseas. And that is failing because the Biden administration doesn't care. They didn't care in Afghanistan or the Ukraine or in the Sudan. And no one else is going to care for him. And we see that the response from Russia, from China, from North Korea, from Iran has been a militarization of each and every one of these countries. We are seeing them prepare for war, and we're seeing the rest of the world terrified because they can't trust America. Either because they don't believe that Joe Biden has the ability to lead the military, nor the desire, and they don't believe that an army built around the idea of warm and fuzzy two moms, a military that is more concerned about making sure you can show off your TikTok and your latest dress, a military that's focused on these social fads is not a military that is effective at defending people, and may in fact be the reason why Joe Biden keeps running away from every military in the world, every conflict in the world. He is running away from them as fast as he can, abandoning Americans at every single turn, tens of thousands of Americans. We can't keep doing this. Because the weaker we seem, the more that Joe Biden runs away, the more our military is focused on social trends rather than being an effective military unit, the more in danger Americans become. The more that we have situations like in Afghanistan where 175 Americans are still being held as prisoners of the Taliban, Al-Qaeda, and ISIS, with thousands of others hiding and running for their lives. We have Americans that are dying in the Ukraine. We have Americans in danger in the Sudan. We have terrorists who are going across the United States southern border. 98 suspected or actual terrorists were actually caught in 2022 alone. We know at least half a dozen or more of them had specific plans to assassinate elected officials in the United States. And that's the ones we caught. We don't even know how many more there are because they don't have a fear. Neither of Joe Biden and his leadership, not of Mark Milley and his focus on white rage and trying to make people feel warm and fuzzy, not in a military that runs from every single opponent in the world that we outclass and outnumber. This is troubling, folks. Look, I don't care about the drag. I don't care about if a sailor wants to be dressed in drag in his time on shore leave, knock yourself out. If you're gay or LGBTQAI+, you want to call yourself a toaster in your time off from the military, when you have shore leave, when you have time to go home, fantastic. Knock yourself out. I could care less. You're a grown adult. You've put your life on the line. Enjoy your time away. But that's not a military. When the military is focused on these creature comforts rather than the hard and disciplined job of being a military, well, it fails everyone. And you suffer. You, the American citizen. Because the thing that keeps America safe isn't Joe Biden. It isn't the fact that progressives are trying to pass more and more laws to turn America into a socialist nation. The only thing that keeps America safe is the fact that we have a military that is among, if not the best in the world. And that we are the police of the world, that we protect ourselves and others, and that the major nations of the world fear when we take steps forward, when we say it's time for us to act. At least that's how they used to react. But now China is making a navy that will dwarf the United States Navy. We see that drones are being built in Iran and used in the Ukraine, making sure that they can better kill, and they are working against the United States' best interests, as well as promoting global terrorism. We have North Korea firing over 100 missiles and ICBMs and hypersonic missiles that we cannot shoot down, endangering the lives of Japan and South Korea, and even capable of hitting the United States. And they show no desire to slow down. China is taking all of this into mind, and they're saying, not only are we going to have a bigger navy, but we're going to go and invade Taiwan. They have told us they are going to do this. It's not a question if they will do it. It is a question of when they will do it. And the weaker our military seems, the more ready they are to take action. Japan doesn't trust us. That's why they're building their first army since World War II. Even though there is a treaty saying that the United States will defend Japan and they don't need an army. They don't believe in that treaty anymore because they don't think your two moms will make them safe. They may feel warm and fuzzy, but they won't be safe. Not from China or anyone else. Same thing for South Korea. Same thing for the Philippines. This is why Guam is militarizing. Guam is militarizing because they do not trust what's going to happen. We have lowered our standards incredibly low. We made our military touchy-feely, and we have failed to maintain our ability, our capabilities around the world to protect American citizens. And even when we have the capability, the leadership has failed because the commander-in-chief has given the order to run away time and time again, to not even try and save Americans. He has rather decided to just abandon everything, to give the enemy weapons and money and ammunition rather than stand and fight and protect American citizens. The evidence is our history. This isn't conjecture. It's not a guess. It's not a doomsaying. This is what happened. It has happened, and it is happening before our eyes. We're not going to make the world fear or respect America because we have two moms for each soldier. We're not going to make the Taliban and terrorist organizations around the world quake in fear because we have drag queens on our Navy ships. It's just not going to happen. In fact, that may give them more reason to attack us, not less. And that means every American on vacation to travel the world, every American on a business trip, that means every American, for whatever reason, outside our nation and even within, are a target. We need to change this. Not because I don't like the LGBTQ. That's silly. That's ridiculous. That's an excuse. That's a way to distract from the actual issue. It's a way to try and turn a blind eye to the problem standing in our face. Our military is weak because our leadership is weak. And until we have strong leadership, until we have plans and we stand up strong and tall and proud, we are going to be in danger. That's the reality. It doesn't matter if you don't like that I have to say this. It is the truth that I am telling you. And you know it. It's time for our leaders to know it as well, to be reminded that playing politics is fantastic, except when it comes to the national security, except when it comes to protecting Americans abroad and at home. They can politic about climate change. They can politic about gun control. They can politic about the debt, national debt, and our budget all day long. Fantastic. But our military is not a plaything. It's not a social experiment. And it shouldn't be treated like that. Because the only result is Americans abandoned and dead around the world and at home. Let's nip this in the bud before it gets worse. We don't need more TikTok recruitment videos. China is recruiting plenty of people without our help. We don't need more two-mom videos to make us feel warm and fuzzy, because Iran is feeling more than warm and fuzzy knowing our military is getting weaker and they have more reasons to attack us. We need to stand up. We need to be strong. And if some people don't like that, I don't care. Because 9 out of 10 times, I'm very sure those very same people would not be standing in a ditch or in a foxhole with me trying to protect America and the American interests. Maybe you think I'm wrong. Maybe you think I'm just too old. Maybe. But maybe I'm right. Maybe myself and many, many, many other former military have this opinion. We've been saying it for quite some time. Just perhaps it's time that our leadership listen to us, listen to the senators, that they pay attention and stop playing games. But I look forward to hearing to what you have to say, and I hope you join us on Sunday for our live stream at 2:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I know you've heard it before. What difference does it? You make the difference. When you watch, chat, tweets, your likes and shares, and your subscription, you make the difference. From across the world, you help us to keep the lights on and the stream alive. You are making the difference to fight the woke and the crazy legislation that we see before. We at No Soundbites Allowed, and I want to thank you for everything that you do in helping us reach our goal, and your likes, your tweets, your comments, and your subscriptions to the channel. We want to thank you from the bottom of our heart. And this is a special thank you to those who have donated to the channel and helped us in all of our efforts. We will strive to make this channel the best that we possibly can, because you deserve no less. Thank you.